We acknowledge and pay our respects to the Kaurna people, the traditional custodians whose ancestral lands we live and work on. We acknowledge the deep feelings of attachment and relationship of the Kaurna people to country, and we respect and value their past, present, and ongoing connection to country and their cultural beliefs. We extend that recognition and respect to all Aboriginal and First Nations people. Welcome back to Amy and we are celebrating Smut Month this month, which is like everyone's been looking forward to Smut Month. And we have Christina Lauren's Beautiful Bastard as our book of the month, which that live book club will be next week. So I hope you're all reading away. But we have this incredible opportunity today to actually interview the authors, Christina and Lauren. And I'm joined here by my beloved Harry Stewart.
Hi. I'm so
Hi.
excited. This is weird having just two of us this
I
time.
know it is weird. It feels really intimate. Like, yeah, it does. It feels like we could just have a chat about our lives, Harry.
We're just spending a Saturday morning together on
Yeah,
Zoom.
we
Yeah.
are.
After seeing each other all fucking week.
I know you'd be sick of me. But you won't be sick of our guests. Do you want to let people know who Christina and Lauren are?
100% because this is exciting because we
It
love
is
them.
really
Yeah.
exciting.
So, Christina and Lauren is the combined pen name of longtime writing buddies and best friends, Christina Hobbs and Lauren Billings. They are international best-selling authors, co-author
Like
duo.
ridiculous. Like
Like
so famous. It's incredible to
insane.
get to know
It's
them.
so weird when people say yes to be interviewed by us, and I'm like,
Really?
you're like
Us?
a big deal.
I'm a
We've got
big deal, Harry.
130
Am I
followers.
not a big deal to you?
You are a
You're
big
a big
deal.
deal to me. There you
Oh,
go. So we are big
TikTok.
deals too. But yeah,
We are
they're a really big deal.
insane. So they write young adult and adult fiction, and together they've produced almost 20 New York Times best-selling novels, which is
Imagine
scary.
that.
That's scary. So Lauren Billings, but everybody does call her Lo, received her doctorate in neuroscience from UC Irvine, and before she started living her dream as a full-time writer, she spent her days researching neurodegeneration in aging, which is also scary.
That is, yeah, she's yeah, a bit intimidating there.
Yeah, when you talk to
Yeah.
people, you're like,
Yeah.
whoa, whoa, 20
Whoa.
times best-selling author.
Actually a brain scientist.
Yeah. She lives in California with three cuddly dogs, two less cuddly teenagers, and one mountain biking, home brewing scientist husband.
Oh, sounds like a good life.
It does sound like a good life, especially in California. That's where I'd
Yeah.
pick. Yeah.
Oh, I don't mind being here in Adelaide today.
Oh, I'm happy. Oh, yeah, right now. Yeah. If this is the future and maybe things have gone really well, then, well,
Yeah, great, California.
California. And then Christina Lobbs, but you'll always hear Lo call her PQ, used to spend her days in junior high school counseling office surrounded by teenagers.
Yeah.
Again,
I would
intimidating.
have loved to have been in her office when I was a teenager. Like I would have liked Christina to be kind to me.
But
That would have been
also, I
nice.
find counselors intimidating too.
You do. So everyone's intimidating you today.
Everyone's intimidating me today, and I'm like,
We'll give you some love. It's
but I
fine.
love them.
Yeah. So for
Um,
context, we met Christina and Lauren last year at Romance Writers of Australia, and we hosted them for a masterclass at Flinders Uni. And what else? We did some other stuff too. There was a whole bunch of stuff.
you say we,
Yeah.
but you organized the entire thing, kept it
You
a secret
helped.
for
You
eight
drove them
months,
around.
and then it was real. We were all like, when you told us that it
It
was
was a
all,
great surprise. I managed to book them and not like and have it be a big reveal, and it was really fun.
was incredible.
Um, and we were, it is a bit intimidating when you. I often think I don't want to meet my heroes because they might disappoint me or they might be, bastards, or you might just come away with them a bit tarnished. But they were actually the complete opposite, where we met Christina and Lauren, and they were so warm and so lovely and so generous that I think, yeah, I just feel like I love them even more.
That was insane, wasn't it? To meet
Yeah.
people and just be like, oh my God, I love everything that you do
Yeah.
more because I know that you're not these like alien people
They're
that are up on the
generous, they're sweet, they're funny, they're everything their books are. Like, which
fashionable.
fashionable, very cool. They're both very cool.
They're both very cool.
Yeah.
We got to spend the entire weekend with them, but I got to drive them on the day that they were at Flinders, and it was just like it was so cool. spending a
Yeah.
whole day with these people in the car
Yeah. You
and
must have
just
been so nervous when
I
you picked them
was
up.
so nervous. I was so nervous. And then they were like, wow, we really like your boots. And now let's start talking about sex and like Lord of the Rings and funny things. And tell me about you. And I was like, oh my God, 20 New York Times best-selling books. Like
Yeah.
so unbelievably successful. Anybody in the romance genre knows who Christina
Yeah.
Lauren.
And
And then
then they're not asses. They're lovely.
asses, they were the
Yeah.
most generous people ever.
Yeah.
Went
So
to
we love them and we're going to interview them now and we hope you love them as much as we do. There is like literally no doubt you are going to love these two.
100%. These two are they're diabolical when put together, but that's the best way to put it. It's chaos, but it's beautiful.
So let's go meet Christina and Lauren.
Here they come.
All right. So this month is Smut Month here at Amy Ann Podcast, and we are really thrilled that we get to have a book of the month, which is Beautiful Bastard by Christina Lauren, and we actually get to talk to the authors this month, Christina and Lauren, who are joining us from the US. Um,
Yay!
and with me to help do 20 questions to these amazing authors is Harry Stewart. Hey, Harry.
Hi.
Um, so I'm going to hand over to Harry for the first question because we did write some questions, but Harry's gone off pissed and like come up with some other questions as well. So I'm kind of really keen to see what you're going to ask Christina and Lauren. Harry.
I'm going to start with our first official question.
Oh, good. I know this one.
Ooh.
So as to avoid any unnecessary tangents at the very, like,
Beginning at the top of the
as we
episode.
leave the mark, yeah, which I think is just going to be dangerous. So obviously, you guys have got you've got Beautiful Bastard coming out in a brand new, sparkling, fancy edition, and you're releasing the whole Beautiful series, which is amazing. Which is probably why there they
Oh, they're
are.
so pretty.
Oh, they're so pretty.
Oh, I love
Oh my
them.
goodness. Because here's
Yep.
OG,
Yeah.
and then
The
I
oldie but
tried
the
to
goodie.
order the other OG, and then I got a second of the, and I was like, oh, okay. So I see we can't get this yet. And I was like, oh, right. So that'll be a giveaway. Somebody wants the classic. So obviously you guys are following that with the entire Beautiful series. So we have to ask, why now? Like, why have you decided that you're gonna re-release them all now? Is it a nostalgic thing? Is it because it's such a beautiful past?
It's because we need
Yeah.
smut in this current world.
Yes, yes, and yes. Like all of the above. So for anyone who's only listening and not watching video, this is Lauren's voice. And first of all, hi. I'm so happy to see your faces. I love you both so much.
I know
But
I'm smiling so much because I'm so
I
Oh,
know.
yay.
I
We
keep
are
trying
too.
to
We've been
forward.
so excited.
We've
We've
been
been
so
like, and the
excited.
rest of the team is so jealous right now. I've been getting messages like, say hi.
When we saw them on Thursday, they were like, "Oh, good luck on Saturday, guys!" Like, and we were like, "We're fine. We don't need luck. We're so
Yeah, we're
excited."
gonna put you through the ringer. You know us.
Yeah.
yeah. We're real tough.
So, honestly, it's funny that it's now because the 10-year anniversary was actually 2023. So you would think like if there was a time that we were going to do it, it would be then. But I think, there's a real desire for these steamier books right now. And I think this series, especially for us, but also I think for romance, if I think I can say that was was big at the time. And it really brought in a lot of readers who had been either following us in fandom or who had been looking for saucy, funny, sexy, the combination of humor and sex and, emotional depth and all of that. And so I think, the look of the books as you saw the cover that Harry just held up, I mean, it was iconic at the time, but it started to look a little dated. And so when we went back to the drawing board to talk about sort of what we wanted them to look like, I mean, we came up with all these different ideas. We had some covers that looked like completely new. We had some that were like just a definite no. Some were amazing. But in the end, we decided to kind of stick with the original and just give it a little bit of a color makeover. And I love them. I think they're gorgeous. So,
I think it is beautiful that you've kept the original vibe of the book
yeah.
because now they can go side by side with whatever edition that you've got, and you can
Yeah.
just tell that
Yeah.
that's the new and that's the old, or
Yeah.
like the original.
Yeah.
Something really
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's
Yeah, we don't want
nice.
to dupe readers who like don't follow Christina Lauren super closely and read Beautiful Bastard 12 years ago and then are like, "Oh, a new Christina Lauren book." And then they're like, "Damn it, I already read this." Like that's not what we want to do.
It's good for the bank account, but
That's
I
right, I
understand.
know.
Integrity.
Yeah.
So can you give us like maybe some background on the origin of the original book? Like, because it is what is that, 12 years, 12-year anniversary. Where did Beautiful Bastard come from? What's the story of it?
Okay. So, hi, this is Christina. Beautiful Bastard started as a fic called The Office in ye olden day of 2009. And it was the first thing I ever wrote. And it was, so I will say off the bat, okay. It's the first thing I ever wrote. It was super fun. But it was insanely smutty because it was just, I got to just write these crazy people. They're like cartoon characters, you know? I wrote that, and then Lo and I and some friends in fandom were doing this fundraiser called Phantom Gives Back. It's like a children's cancer fundraiser. And we had taken them down because it was during a time when people were like twi moms and mommy porn and, you know, all these things. And we didn't want the fic to we didn't want our fics to take attention away from the fact that we were just raising money for cancer. So we had all kind of taken our stories down. And then at the end, we raised like $250,000. And then Lo put hers back up, and I just decided, you know what? I don't think I'm going to, I think I'm just going to keep it off. So fast forward, Lo and I are writing together as Christina Lauren. We're trying to write a book, and we get an agent and stuff, and 50 Shades comes out. And Lo and I are writing young adult at the time. And I get a call from a friend because, publishing is it's like such a small world. And they worked at a publishing company, and they were like, "Can I ask you a question? Are you publishing The Office with different names? Because it just came across my desk." And I said, "No." And so somebody had taken it, changed the names, and submitted it, trying to get it published. So we had not told our agent, Holly Root, that we wrote fic, because at the time it was very different. Now you have people going to fan fiction writers and being like, "Hey, have you ever thought about publishing your fic?" And at the time, we were really
Adam
worried.
Driver on covers.
Yeah. We were really worried. It's not that we were embarrassed about fic. Fic is like how we learned to do what we do. It's where we met some of our favorite people. It's where we found each other, but it wasn't looked at the same way. It's kind of a black mark. So we had deleted these big Twitter accounts, and we had done all this stuff. And so I had to, and somebody from Hollywood Reporter had emailed me and said, "Hey, have you thought about publishing this?" And I was just like, oh God. And so we had to have this conversation with our agent where we were like, "So Holly, here's the thing, we used to write fic." And she was like, "So you're telling me you were a big deal online?" And we were like, "I guess." And she was like, "I don't know why you would think this is a problem." So she said she thought that we should rework it so we could post it online, and at least it was people would know that, it could be published somewhere. Yeah. And I was like, "You guys, this is the first thing I ever wrote. I can't even look at it." And Lo and I were writing together. So I was like, "Hey, do you want to take it?" I told Lo, "Take it, make it your own, edit it, do whatever you want to do to it." And she did. And she cut it, she changed the ending. She cut a ton. She rewrote a ton. And when she sent it back to me, it was the same, but it was something completely different. And for the first time, I could look at it in a new way. And so we rewrote it. Only about 20% of the original fic is left. And we sent it to my agent, our agent, to look at it. And she was like, "Hey, this is really fun. Do you care if I send it to some people?" And we were like, "Okay, sure." And it sold in 12 hours to Adam Wilson at Simon & Schuster. So Lo and I had started out, we were going to write YA. And then our career just changed instantaneously. So it's funny because I had to read it the other day for something we're doing it. And there's some things in there I'm so mortified by. And
I want to know what, which is.
But I get it. Do you know what I mean? As I was reading it, I was like, okay, they are really fun. And I absolutely get why people loved this. It's such a page turner and stuff, but there are some things I'm just like, did I really write the words traitor nipples?
You did indeed.
And when we reworked it, there were things I said to Lo, "Can we please take this out?" And she was like, "Nope."
Yeah.
So we can thank Lo for the traitor nipples.
That's right. There are some
Me,
things that are just
absolutely.
like
Let's blame
iconic to
Lauren.
the story.
Everybody
Yeah.
needs some traitor nipples
The
in their
traitor.
Thank
lives.
you, Amy. I
Yes.
agree. Yes.
But I mean, it was really nice to read it and be like, okay, I get this. It was
Yeah.
and to see it more than just like this thing where I was like, oh, I can't believe I had somebody ripping underwear and hiding it or what, whatever, and really
It's so
see
much
why.
fun though. Do you know, like it's
Yeah,
like
it
when you're
is. They're
having
so fun.
I started reading it like my I had a cat pass away a couple of weeks ago and it was just awful. And well, I started reading it because we had set it for the book club. And I was like, oh, this is exactly what I would need right now. Like I just need to step out of reality and it's just fun and yeah, it's great. Like it's if you're having a bad day, I think this is the book to read.
That's the thing though.
Yeah.
They're still loved. Like 12
Yes,
years,
Yeah.
I
you know,
know.
Yeah.
and you can still pick up the book and you still can find how much fun. Like this is just, it's the easiest, most like still complex because you're always like, why is
Yeah.
Chloe doing this? Like, please, for the love of God, especially in
Yeah.
Stranger. Stranger's my favorite,
Oh
and
yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
die on that hill. I will die on that
And
hill.
they're so
It's a
funny.
good hill to die
I
on.
was shocked. I was like shocked by number one, how dirty it is. Number
Straight
Were you
away
two,
though?
too.
Were
Like
you
straight
really?
away. Like you
right
get
away. Lauren. I
So, how much dirtier is
always
the
act
office?
surprised by how dirty it is. Who did
I
that?
know. Who wrote this?
Is the original far dirtier?
like the
No.
fanfic.
No,
The fanfic? No, no.
no.
Oh, I
There
love that.
were yeah, I mean it was twice as long because there was like a whole other like plot with his like ex-girlfriend coming into town and like I don't
I
know.
don't
There
even
was just like
remember that.
yeah, her name was Rachel. Like there was just a whole
Ah.
other like second story in there and I was like, let's condense this a
Yeah,
little.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I did. And
She
but yeah,
really
there was
did. She did such a good job making it feel like the same, but completely brand new. She's magic.
do you know what I would love is that every book we had to publish, somebody just gives us an already finished book that we just have to cut in half and edit. That would be amazing
Yeah.
if we could just make the universe deliver that. That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need like some magic portal that just delivers the books.
Can you tell we're drafting? I'm just like, this is hard.
Me too. I'm
It's
so
due in
close
a
to
month.
deadline. I just need that portal right now.
So when can we get this in Australia as well? Have we got a pipeline
Well,
coming?
so before, actually, you know what? Simon and Schuster Australia has the rights to this book.
Mhm.
So I
That's
think
true.
it's just a matter of them getting the artwork and moving
Yeah.
it over because I don't think there's new material,
Well, we
right?
did make some changes.
Yeah.
There's a few changes. We make it a little less rapey and a little more consent positive. And then we have a
We should
letter that we
clarify that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Chloe has
Because
always had the power in the
yeah,
relationship, but there is such a power, an imbalance. He is
Yeah.
essentially like
yeah.
her boss
Can
in the
we
workplace,
can we
and
stop
so
there? Because I'm really interested in this, and this is partly what we wanted to talk about with Smut Month. Is when you pick up a book that is smutty, and you look at a lot of romantasy right now has like kidnapping and all kinds of things. Do you think the fact that it's a book, like I know we all are consent positive and we're really interested in these power dynamics. But then as a fantasy space, how much leeway do you get to like if someone consents to open that book and they want that fantasy? Like when did you decide that that was something you might want to reorient?
Well, I think um I have two answers to that. One is that I think in 2012, when we were writing this, we weren't quite as clear about consent on the page as we are now in 2025.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that's something that like the genre itself has really prioritized. And I'm glad for that because I
Yeah.
think that this is a space where we can have those conversations. I mean, we've all talked about this a
Mhm.
lot together, that sort of the role that romance plays in what a happily ever looks like, what a healthy sexual relationship looks like. How
Mm,
do we communicate about these things, about pleasure, about consent, about body autonomy? And so I like that romance is having that conversation. And so I think we just wanted to make sure that we were sort of updating, right?
yeah.
Because books don't always change, but authors do. And so, like, when we have a chance to change a book, it's nice that we can
Yeah.
do that. And then I think my second answer is more about like the genre in general, where, you can find anything you want, really. If you
Yeah.
want to find a contemporary novel that's super sexy, that has dubious consent, it's out there. that isn't necessarily what Christina Lauren writes, but it's
Yeah.
out there. And I think, every author gets to decide for her or himself or themselves what level of consent they want to put in their books. And so there's no kink shaming here. It's
Yeah.
just that
Yeah.
for us, we wanted to make sure that it was a little bit more explicit on the page. That
Yeah.
he would like, tell me to stop. And she's like, don't stop. That's where we
Yeah.
need to make sure it
Yeah.
was clear.
And and I'll say, like, I remember we had this discussion about when we were still in fandom, there was this fic. So Lo and I met in the Twilight fandom. And there was this fic where Edward, if you haven't watched Twilight or read Twilight, where they're in the science class and Edward is thinking about killing her and stuff. But what he decides to do in the fic is that he goes to her house and he takes her because he realizes that if he takes her, he can keep drinking. So, like, I would not, like, I don't read kidnapping books and stuff. I would not ever, like, read something like that normally. But for some reason, because it was a vampire, it was different.
Yeah.
And, like, there's different rules for like non-human. I don't know if that's like correct or not, but that's how I justified it,
Yeah,
back
there's
in
no
the
correct, but
day.
that's interesting. Every time we've had this conversation this month around um, those lines, everyone has had the same response, including Harry and I, of like,
Mm.
I'm not really into that, but there's this one book where it happens where
Mhm.
it just was my jam. I
Yeah.
really was into that. Yeah.
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 Very true.
Look, this is awful. But yes, I agree. Side note, sorry.
Harry's
After Lowe's
obsessing over his
little
looks in the
I like
chat.
shiny.
lost our hands. I was
Yeah.
like, what
Then we
am I
mentioned
doing?
then we mentioned vampires, and I was just looking at myself in the camera going, Christ almighty. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Oh, you always look adorable.
You do.
Squeezing your
Oh,
cheeks.
I've
just
lost track of who's asking what question now.
I know, I've lost track of that as well.
Well,
Sorry.
the
It's our
question
turn to ask a question,
This
That's
is
actually.
right.
exactly what happened last year, though. Somebody was being interviewed, and then one of these two was making eyes into the crowd, having a separate private conversation with, we were like, oh. Um, no, well, that like you guys were talking about, like you don't want to kink shame. There's no shaming of that type of stuff, and I know that you guys like you popularly say never yuck somebody's yum, right? So do you think that today, now with this series coming back out and all getting fresh again, that you think that not only smut has a place here as well, but that it's necessary for these books, for you to bring these books back out to remind people that this fun's still there, this energy can still be there, and it can still exist in 2025?
I absolutely think so. And I think, there are readers who are just finding romance now, who are
Mm.
like, I want more of this. And I know when I came into really reading romance in the early 2000s, um, I found the books that I really loved. And then I was sort of like, okay, but show me the like, what started it all? Like, show me the predecessors to this. Who inspired these? And so I think, there are a lot of authors who have come out since we published that were inspired by 50 Shades, that were inspired by, Sally Thorne and Christina Lauren and Sarah MacLean and some of these authors that have been around for a longer time. And, they're probably like, who inspired, Ali Hazelwood, who inspired BK Borison. They want to go back in time. And also, like you said, I think these books still are current. Like it's not like 12 years
Mm-hmm.
ago was that long ago in
No.
terms of like
Yeah,
human
yeah.
dynamics. We're not like
Yeah.
communicating and like grunts and like banging on
Yeah.
rocks. Like it's still like, like we are still speaking that language. So I think there's a lot of contemporary feels still in these series. I love them. I just think
Yeah.
they're fun.
I also thought it feels so contemporary the way she's so exploited. Do you know her
Mhm.
internship? Like I was reading that and go, oh, that just feels like today. Like
Mm.
that is just
Yeah.
so current.
Oh my God, but isn't that insane though to think about, like, not to make this a political conversation, but just to
Oh,
think
why
that like
not? This is the
there
place
are
for it. Like,
there are so, many things that like we thought we had done away with this. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
yeah,
Like we thought we had done away with like kink
yeah,
shaming and like slut shaming. And, I remember I was having a conversation with my daughter and we were talking about, girls who've had like a bunch of boyfriends at this age and she's 14. So its boyfriend is like just somebody they're like talking to on text and stuff. It's very innocent still. And but that like if a girl has a lot of boyfriends, she's got a high body count. And I'm like, are we still doing this? Like we did this in
Ooh.
the 80s when I was a youngin. Like, what are we doing? You
Yeah.
know? Sorry. Anyway.
So the other question, well, thinking about that, the other question we're circling this month is like, is there a difference between smut and sex? Because smut has really been adopted by the community as like a, it's been reclaimed as like, yeah, we're smut lovers. And so I was wondering, is there a difference between smut and sexual representation?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, we say you can have as much, I mean, okay, a Christina Lauren kind of rule for a Christina Lauren book
Yeah.
is that we can have as much sex in that book as you want as long as it is moving the plot forward. So like
Yeah.
in Beautiful Bastard, when I used to read my mom's romance novels, there was I thought I thought I was so talented that I could open the book to like the right place where the sex scene always was, but that's just because
Because
there was
that's where
such
it
a
fell
formula.
open.
Yeah, well, but
Yeah.
also it was like always like around the 3/4 point. And so like, we have this thinking that like once they have sex in a book, like the tension is gone. And then that's like when, the conflict happens and all these things. But in Beautiful Bastard, they have sex. In fandom, we have this thing called ust. And Lo and I use that term all the time. That means unresolved sexual tension. And so we're always like, oh, this book is so usty, or,
Yeah.
And so in Beautiful Bastard, it's like they have sex on like page I don't know,
Straight
12 or
away. Yeah,
something like
straight away.
that. But it doesn't resolve anything. If anything, it only makes it worse. So
Yeah.
like in that book, every like when they're having sex is like that's when the walls start to come down, and that's when like the growth happens in their relationship. So all of those sex scenes, I was actually surprised that like every one of them served a purpose. They become like a little bit closer to like the actual feelings every time they have sex. So we're always like, you can have as much sex as you want, as long as it like is serving the story. In our case,
Yeah.
obviously, you can have stuff that's like gratuitous and just for like, I don't know what this is for fun. But
Traitorous
in
nipples.
our
Is that
book,
what that
that's always
Traitorous
is?
our
Nipples.
thing. Yeah, that's our thing. Is that like number one, the sex has to work for the characters, and it like each scene has to like move the story forward.
In some way, either their relationship goes backward, but the story moves
Yeah.
forward, or yeah.
Yeah.
I will say though, like I think if somebody says, "Here is a smutty book," you're going to expect it to be explicitly sexual.
Yeah.
Whereas if
Yeah.
somebody is like, "Here is a sexy book," there may or may not be explicit sex on the page because
Yeah.
there are ways to be sexy in romance that aren't necessarily explicit sex scenes, right?
Yeah.
And so but I do think if a book that might have sex scenes in it also might not be smutty, right?
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think like smut, I think denotes something pretty explicit and
And
a
does it
little more
involve
raw.
kink? Do you think it involves
Not
kink?
necessarily.
No.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just
I
been
mean,
interesting that it's been adopted as with such pride. Like I'm a
yeah.
reader of smut, there's stickers and badges and all the kinds of things. And then I was talking to a major book chain and they made all their staff take down any smut, like any signs that had smut on it. And I was like, oh, that's interesting because that is like smut shaming.
Yeah.
Because it is like a community term now.
And I think, yeah, I think we've embraced it the way that like the queer community embraced queer. I think it's something that it's like, we have taken a word that was initially used as a weapon and we have made it, our own. And so whenever somebody says, "Oh my God, I love smut," I never am like, don't call it that. I'm all like, good for
Yes.
you, it's awesome.
Not around my family, you don't. My goodness.
Having to take signs down that say smut or something reminds me so much of like TikTok or something, how they're not supposed to use like the word sex.
Yeah.
Like in some ways we have like come so far and then get kind of taken backward because they have to like for a long time I was like, why does everything say seg? What is seg?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, seg.
And I was like, oh, right.
But also I think that reminds me too of like, on TikTok especially, and also now, on Instagram and Reels and stuff, there's like the spicy, and they'll have like different chili pepper denotations, but it's not like standardized at all. It's like women's fashion. Like a 12 here is not a 12 anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like there's no consistency across sizing or spiciness. So I remember there was one time Christina saw this review that gave Beautiful Bastard 1 chili pepper, and she's like, "What are you reading? Like,
What are you reading?
I want to see your bookshelf."
Yeah, or somebody will read like Unhoneymooners, and Unhoneymooners is our like most closed door relate or book, and that's not like it wasn't intentional. It's just because that's like how it worked for the characters, and so like we tried to make it sexier, and it just felt it didn't fit them, and so some people are like that book was so spicy, and I'm
But
like, what are you?
it's the chemistry, right? It's because
Mhm.
like when they're like the one bed, it's got all those
Yeah.
I
tropes
guess
that,
I just think it's just
It's just so
so like Lo
subjective.
said,
yeah, yeah,
so subjective.
yeah.
I was reading reviews for like a very popular book in the US right now that I just finished and I absolutely loved it. And some people were like, is the kink in the room with us? Because it's supposed to be like a very kinky book. And I was like, you know what? This is such a sliding scale for people. It's so
Mm.
Mhm.
subjective as to what
Yeah.
one person considers kinky and like what another doesn't. And sometimes I'm just like, we are all ruined for polite society.
But really, if you were sitting down at dinner and somebody was telling you about their sex life, like you're right, it's the same thing. Everybody
Yeah.
at the table would have a completely different opinion on what the hell is going on. They'd be like,
Yeah,
No,
"Wow,
that's
that's
very
totally.
true.
wild,
Yeah.
my goodness," and others would be
Yeah.
like, "Oh,
Bit
Yeah.
disappointing.
bit vanilla."
Yeah.
But on that, when you go and write these books, because this is something that I remember wanting to ask last year when we were all together. But like,
The
how
best
do
time
you?
ever.
Oh, it was the best time ever,
It
wasn't it? And
was.
now look
Those
at
were the
us,
days.
thousands of kilometers apart.
I know.
Just don't remind me. But how do you pick the places? This is what I wanted to ask last year. How do you pick the places where these guys had sex in this
Oh
series?
my God. Okay, well, actually, the funny thing about that question is so, Beautiful Bastard it started as fic, so I can't really speak to how she chose, the stairwell and the conference room and La Perla dressing room and whatnot, because these were all things that she created when she was doing it. And I bet she can't even remember why she chose them. But I do know that, like, when we were outlining Beautiful Stranger, which is the second book in the series, and it's a different couple, and that is equally sexy, if not more.
It's probably
Um,
more.
and
Love.
we knew that we had to have a lot of sex in it, and we didn't know what we were doing yet. So Beautiful Bastard didn't come out until February of 2013, but Beautiful Stranger was due December of 2012. So we had to turn in Beautiful Stranger before we even released a book. And we were just like, okay, like we'll write a book. Like we had no idea what we were doing. And so our
In like
outline
six
was,
weeks or something.
yeah, no, we literally had 6 weeks. And we were like, okay, our outline was like club, office, restaurant, rooftop. It was basically just the places they were going to have sex. There was no like character growth in the initial one. There was no like, what does their relationship look like? It's like just where they were going to have sex. And I think for us, we were trying to think about like, where are they moving around their space to like he's sort of chasing her emotionally and she's sort of like it's a little cat and mouse thing a little bit. It's Beautiful Stranger. And so that's sort of how that outline came together. But it's just so funny that like the outlines that we do now are so much more like character arcs and like
Mm.
plot. And that one was just like, where are they gonna bang?
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
there a
Now,
place that you couldn't make sexy? Can you think of a place you could put characters as like, oh, I can't
I
make
mean,
that work?
it was
Like a
really,
dumpster.
it
I
took
reckon you could make a
some
dumpster
time.
work, you two. I think I can
It
see you
took some
guys doing it.
time to figure
Sorry.
out
Challenge
how to
accepted.
get them to have sex in the New York Public Library. That did take some work. Like, how are we
Mhm.
going to do this? Is this possible? Except now I'm so much more concerned with like, is this possible? I didn't even know what a copy editor was then. Now I like have panic attacks that like somebody is going to leave, Well, I happen to work at the New York Public Library, and I can tell you that that is not.
I thought you were going to say I happen to have had sex in that spot and it was
Yeah,
not
In a
Oh, no,
rare
no,
book
illegal.
no.
selection.
and trust me, it's much easier. Yeah,
Everyone does it.
everyone does it. Oh God. But when you think about the office scenes and stuff, like now I walk through offices and you think like, huh, well, not all the
Uh-huh.
time, mind you. That's
Right.
not the only thing on my fucking mind. But like, come on, there has to be places in offices that you just couldn't have sex as well, right? Like,
Oh
the
no.
photocopier fantasy. I'm like, who's having sex on a photocopier?
Yeah. Or
You know?
like the
As I
break
was
room.
reading,
I don't know.
Hmm.
there were moments I was getting really stressed because I was like, what the hell are you guys there's people outside your door. What are you doing? I was very stressed about it.
Yes.
Have
Yeah,
some
but like
shame.
but like I think the break room would be a hard no for me because that's where people eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I can't imagine sort of like
Yeah.
hoisting her up onto the counter and somebody just like had their, tuna casserole reheating and I don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
then
Sorry, that was a
afterwards,
terrible choice
And the
of food.
smells too. Like that's not
I
very
know.
sexy. What
Yeah,
people
yeah,
could
yeah.
reheat for
mm.
their lunch.
And then what if you have to
Also,
go
I
back to the
kept,
break room, knowing
Right.
that you had sex
yeah,
there? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know about
I
that.
actually kept thinking about, in the first chapter they have sex on the conference table. Spoiler alert, sorry. But they also have sex against the window.
Yeah,
And
push
all I
had
right
could
up
12
think
against
years.
the
about
window.
was the person cleaning that conference room. I'm like, what would
They're like, what's this
Well,
shape?
this is where 2025 is great because everyone has sanitizer now and
That's right.
wipes.
Yeah,
So it'd
yeah.
be fine now. You could just clean up after yourself.
You know what I
Yeah,
was just thinking, actually, I said that they wouldn't have sex where people make food, but they had sex in the kitchen in Paradise Problem. The big
Oh
industrial
my God,
kitchen.
they do
That
on the
is
counter.
true.
No, and actually there is
It's
a
a
part
very
where Lo
sterile industrial kitchen, right?
I definitely added where she got the Lysol out. She was like cleaning
she
off
did.
the
make sure it was clean at least.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes, yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
I'd be worried about
The
window
prince.
integrity if anybody was having sex against a window.
Right.
On
I'd be like, is
skyscrapers are probably fine.
When
But
we talk about like that we call phantom boot camp, but we couldn't do this job without that. I very clearly remember getting a review on fanfiction.net. That's how old we are. Where somebody was like, 'cause you get a lot of like criticism. And somebody was like, maybe next time they'll have sex against the window, it will break and they'll like fall to their death. And I was like, okay.
So
well,
you liked it
there's a
then.
window cleaner, a sexy window cleaner outside.
Yeah, yeah.
my God.
Mm.
And are you guys ever, so now that this series is coming out, now that you're bringing back like this, it's smart. This is the Christina Lauren that everybody fell in love with at the start, right? Like
Mhm.
this is so quintessentially both you guys. Followed by what I will say are still some of my favorite books. We've got autobiography. Love that book.
Yeah.
I have read that
Oh,
book twice and I still pass that around, honestly, to
oh.
people. I go like, just read
Aw.
this, just read this. Like I feel like I know Utah as well. I got something. I had
Mhm.
a parcel that was in Utah. I ordered something from Utah, and then when they were sending it, they were like, "Oh, do you want to come and pick it up, or do you want to get it delivered?" And I was like, "Well, I live all the way on the other side of the ocean,
We
so
are
it's probably
oceans
going to have
apart,
to
my
be
friend.
I'll
delivered."
get it for you.
Yeah, yeah. And I was like, "I'll just message Christina, just pop down to the shop and grab it for me. I'll sling you $60 for part of postage." But I was like, West Utah. I was like, oh yes. Oh well, hang on. No, that wasn't where autobiography was set. I was like, grab my book and I'm looking through and I was going, oh, that's where. Oh well, that's not too bad. Well, it'd be a bit hard. I could get the boys to go.
Aw.
But like, will you ever go back to writing smut like this? Do you think? Will you ever all like get together and think, damn, that was so much fun. Like, let's do something like that. Move away from like the rom-com space and do something like this again.
I think so. I
Hmm.
think it just is a matter of like what story feels right. I don't know that we would do it as Christina Lauren necessarily, just because I do feel like now that we're in hardcover, there's like a slightly different audience that we're selling that to in the hardcover. Which isn't to say that hardcover readers don't also read smut and vice versa. I just think it's like if you're going for a more commercial book, you tend to have like a little bit more focus on like the world outside of the bedroom as well as inside. But I mean, I wrote a book that came out in 2022, 21. I don't even remember what year it came out.
Called
It's called
Scandalized.
Scandal. Yeah, it's called Scandalized, and that was like a really sexy book, and it was really fun to kind of go back to that space and just like not write with anyone's expectations or and without even an audience in mind. And I think that that's what it would take for Christina and I to do that. And so our goal actually this year is to kind of knock out the two books we have due by August so that we can spend a year or 2 years even just writing whatever bananas, crazy, sexy things we want. Because I think we miss that sort of feeling of just like nobody's looking. We can just like do
Yeah.
whatever we want. There is something that happens when you have a larger audience that is just like such a huge honor. But you also do sort of, you can't not think about your audience sometimes. And so I think we're looking forward to just like, what is the craziest thing we can write? And let's do it.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
I'm
Yeah.
excited by the two books that we have due.
Hmm.
So it has
Yeah.
not been a
Yeah.
year off for you guys. That's exciting.
And a
I
very
mean,
short time frame.
the
Yes.
funny thing is like the year off was actually last year when we also wrote a book. We just decided not to publish it. So like we didn't actually get a year off. We just like have a year of no new book. But we have, I think, 19 books being released this year because we have like all of the re-releases of the Beautiful series, plus the Love and Other Words special edition,
Such
plus we have some
underachievers,
other stuff
seriously.
Yeah.
happening. So, well, I mean, this is all stuff we wrote. So like we're not really doing anything. We're just like, yay, you know.
I said from the moment I met him, work harder. Come
Yeah,
on.
I know.
I know.
Where's the
I
work
know.
ethic?
Crack that whip.
6 weeks to write a book. Come on.
Get off your chair. So if you go back to writing that smut stuff, are we gonna can we expect Billings Hobbs or
That's right.
Rentina, maybe?
Yeah, it might be Lauren Christina.
Yes.
Well, no
That's
one's
no.
going to see that coming.
No.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. We would hiding. But no,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know what we would do. It's just, yeah. I mean, there's such a, I mean, I don't want to say bravery, but there's such a like freedom to writing something that's just crazy when you're just doing it for yourself and not thinking about. I mean, that's the amazing thing about like writing fic or, your first book or, And I was thinking of that as I was reading Beautiful Bastard. I was just like, you can tell we're just not even thinking about who's going to read
Yeah.
this.
No.
There's such a kind of gleefulness to it. I think you can
Yeah,
feel
yeah.
you leaping off the page. That's funny because you do see early authors who are just desperate to kind of get to where you are now. And you feel like saying, oh, slow down, enjoy this bit. Hey, Harry.
Yeah.
Slow down,
I mean,
enjoy
the
this
only
bit,
difference
Has,
between us
please.
and you is just where you are in
Time.
the process.
Yeah.
That's
And
it.
all these wrinkles. We have a lot more
That's
wrinkles.
true.
Oh,
That's true.
where?
Oh, stop it.
Where?
I'll
Okay.
get wrinkles soon as well. Oh.
Yeah, because you're a vampire.
Become
Okay,
very
Harry,
actually.
we're getting kind of late in the interview. So have you got your crazy questions? Where are your
I've
20
got my
questions?
crazy questions.
All right,
Yeah, I
let's do
did.
it.
I was
Okay.
like, when we do interviews for people, we try to keep it, like conversational and professional and stuff. And then when I was talking the other day, I was like, oh, it's Christina Lauren.
We're
Like,
not very,
I
I
can
mean,
go there.
yeah.
I was like, what am I like? I'm not going to talk about like, and what did you think about this imprint? And give us a political opinion. I was like, no, I
Tell us
want to
about your
write.
craft.
I want to ask them some really fucking weird questions and just be like,
Yes.
bang, like,
Go
do
for
it.
it.
So I
Do
wrote
it.
crazy little rapid fire questions that seem cliche, but I know that you guys are fun enough that you're going to make it fun.
All right,
Oh,
we're
no
going to be
pressure.
fast too.
No
So the
pressure.
first one is, I'm looking at them now, being like, boring, boring, boring. Oh, which fictional character would you swap lives with for a day?
Oh, I think Hannah from Beautiful Player.
Oh, good pick.
Oh. I would possibly switch places with Mia because I am never obsessed with our characters, but there was something about Ansel and Sweet Filthy Boy that I was just a little bit like, like we were in France and I was like, that's where Ansel would park his motorcycle. I'm never like that.
I would pick Chloe from Beautiful Stranger because Bennett might be the hottest man I've ever read.
Amazing.
What's the most ridiculous working title you guys have ever given a book before publishing?
The one we're
I
doing
can
right
answer
now
this.
is pretty great. Okay.
No.
go ahead.
When we were writing Something Wilder, we had come up with a bunch of titles that like are, I think the original title was like Wild Summer or something like that. And so as we would save new versions of the book, we would just like retitle it and send it to each other. And so it was like Treasure Hunt book, Treasure Hunt. Like I don't even remember what they were, but they were just crazy. They would get longer and longer, and we would just send them to each other.
The other one I can think of is before Beautiful Player, we were trying to brainstorm like what are some titles that we could use. And the thing with Will is that so Will and Hannah are the main couple in that book. And Will is friends with Bennett and Max, who are the people from the books before. And so he sort of has like the inside he is really good friends with Hannah's brother as well. So like I was like, well, why don't we title it Beautiful Insider? And it has and I was like, and it sounds dirty too. And our editor was just like, no. And I was like, come on. And he was like, absolutely not.
And so what's the
Beautiful
current one
Insider was
too?
the one that I suggested for Beautiful Player.
Oh, that's so
And Love and Other
I'm
Words,
so
the
glad
working
he
title.
vetoed that.
The working title for Love and Other Words was The Closet because they like meet in a closet that's like a library, but that is like could mean a lot of things.
that could mean a lot. Well,
That
yeah,
could, yeah.
could have been your one for autobiography.
That's right. That
When
one
we're
actually
done,
had
we'll
the
tell
title
you the
before
title
we
we're
even.
working on now.
Yeah, We had the title for autobiography before we even started writing.
Oh, wow.
The title came first.
It's a good
And then
title.
once we had the title, we were like, okay, now I know what this book is about. That doesn't usually happen, but it definitely
That's
happens.
insane.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense why it is probably your most catching title. Like the
Yeah.
one that you
Yeah.
recall the most, being like, wow, that is cool. That's a good one.
Yeah.
This one's weird, and I apologize in advance. I wrote this last night.
We
I've
like
had
weird.
2 or 3 glasses of vino.
I love it.
If the Beautiful series had a smell, what would it be?
Ooh.
Money.
I can't do better than that. Good job.
You could sniff out $100 bill, Christina.
Yes,
Like, there's
yes.
one in
As
the
I was
room.
reading it, I was like, they like their brand.
Like-
Man, they are rich.
Yeah. What's your worst writing habit? This one's for both of you. Like, what would you say the worst thing is that you, and you go,
My
damn.
draft now, so she could probably tell you a lot of them.
I don't know if you mean like as we are actively drafting or like as a writer, what I tend to do in drafts. I think I tend to not put enough plot in, but yeah, I don't really have a lot of bad habits when it comes to the writing process, like working.
That's the answer of an expert.
Yeah.
Expert
That was like
author.
last year when we went to your masterclass and you're astonished by people who don't plan. I'm like, that is an organized person.
I
That
still
is
use that planning document as well, by the way. I used that for my manuscript that I had to do for my PhD. And I was like, well, the first one was a fucking nightmare. So I was like, so maybe I'll go and use some of the tutorage that I got last year. And
Oh, that's
it's very
awesome.
effective. It does
Oh,
take a lot of
good.
time though. And it's kind of nice
Yeah.
to get into the meat of something because I
Yeah.
was not a planner when you first met me
Yeah.
last year.
I know
Organic
you
as
were
shit.
very much a pantser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And an
But I
awful
mean,
habit.
that works for some people. And some people, if they outline too much, they feel like they've already written the book. So then it's hard for them to actually go and write it. So got to do what works for you.
The other one is if you guys could co-author a book with anyone, dead or alive, who would you pick?
Mm. I would like to write a nonfiction book with Mary Roach, who's a nonfiction author. And I would want to do a book on like the pop science of Botox. I know this was not the answer you were expecting, but Botox is like fascinating molecule and my family has a long history for it. I was in the clinical trial for children with lazy eye. And so the guy who actually invented Botox as a therapy, his name is Dr. Alan Scott. He was my ophthalmologist.
Oh, wow.
And so I would get Botox injections into my eye to try and straighten my eye. And then that ended up many years later, ended up being like the only treatment that would work for my dad's movement disorder and my sister's. And I worked at the company that made it. And it just was this weird, like, it's like a story of serendipity. And I think she's somebody who could really tell that story well. So I would choose that. I know that is such a boring answer for
I would read that book.
Boring answer.
I would read that book.
I would read
People
that
should
book.
know Lo is a neuroscientist.
A neuroscientist,
so, like,
yeah, no. Like,
yeah. I've been telling her she should do this forever because, people think of
When?
Botox and they think of like, getting rid of wrinkles and stuff, but it actually is like so many things that it's used for.
Yeah.
Also, Christina is a counselor, worked at a high school as a
That's
counselor.
right. Yes.
Always pumping up Lowe's neuroscience.
I know.
Never the past
I'm
and
always like,
saving lives.
Lo has a PhD in neuroscience, and I do not, and I'm real better about it. I don't know if I would if I would want to co-author with anyone else. Like co-authoring with somebody is like Lo is my safe space. It's such a vulnerable thing to give your words or to like have these like conversations where you're creating stories and people and like there's no bad idea in a brainstorm and like you can't say those things to everybody, and she's just my safe space that I can be like, what if? And I can't think of anyone else in the world I could do that with or would want to.
It's amazing that you gave your work so willingly over to be transformed all those years ago. Because like it's just not something that you do.
No, a lot of people could not do that.
Yeah, it feels so taboo. But like that's incredible. And like look what's blossomed from that kind of, like
from that trust. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Lo is seriously, she is my favorite writer. She is. Like the best part of being a Christina Lauren is getting to read her words first. So It's just like I feel so lucky getting to write with her. I want to like I always am like I want to be more like her all the time. So
Don't we
You're so
all?
cute. I think I want to answer for you though. I think if Christina could co-author a book with anyone but me, she would co-author it with my daughter.
yes, I
Oh.
would. She's my little soulmate.
Mhm. You
You
guys
like
I
would
like
make
love
a
mum, but
Oh.
I
yeah,
had to pick
a
one.
little yeah, a swoony YA is what you guys would write. Yeah,
Oh.
That's so adorable. That's how you know we're getting to the good stuff here, is when
that's right.
Christina becomes lovey towards Lo,
Yeah,
and Lo goes, well, hang on a second. Let's
I'm gonna answer for you.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna
it's true.
I'm just gonna love you too, but let's stay on track.
This
All
is how
right.
you know you spent days with us.
Yes.
Well, I feel like we could spend days together now, but I think we're out
I
of time.
know.
I think we're out of
Oh,
time.
Yay!
The formal love fest will have to conclude. But thank you so much for joining us, Christina and Lauren, and everyone listening or watching. Please rush out and finish up Beautiful Bastard before we hit our live book club next week, because we can't wait to talk
Yay!
about it.
Oh, so
Thank you for
fun.
joining us. It's such a delight to see your smiling faces.
it is. You
Likewise. I
guys
miss
just
you
look so
guys.
happy.
Oh, I
Because we're
know. You
looking
gotta
at
come.
you.
I know. You gotta come up here and see us.
I know, I do. We all
We
do.
do.
We'll
You
send him
all
on a
do.
plane. We'll send
Yep.
him.
Just charter a big old plane and bring everybody.
Yes, yes.
Done. Done. All right. Well, the
Awesome.
next live episode we'll be doing from Utah or somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes! How did you
We
get
can hear
to?
you things.
I'll save a lot on postage if we
Yeah,
get
That's
in.
you
right.
will. You will. Like Harry orders a lot, so it'd be cheaper to charter the plane. All right. See you, everybody. Happy Smut
Amazing.
Month.
Bye.
You know, we talked about meeting your heroes, right? Um, and I was thinking, oh, I really hope that I love them just as much, and I do. I love them even more.
That is, I was gonna say that is scary when you meet, like, you have a great idea of somebody when you do meet them. And now I was
Yeah.
anxious
Can we
before
be besties? Can we just hang out all the time?
all the time. Just felt like it was normal. Felt like they
Yeah.
were back here talking to us.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
everyone, that was Christina and Lauren. And don't forget, we've got Beautiful Bastard next week. We're going to be doing our live book club with our signature cocktail, which I believe is Sex on the Beach. Or if you
Oh,
want the mocktail, it would be No Sex on the
no sex.
Beach.
Yeah.
Um,
Pump.
so make your cocktail or your mocktail and join us. I think Millie's prepared some like spicy chocolate chip cookies for Smut Month as well. So we can get our cookies, get our cocktail, and join up to talk about Beautiful Bastard, where they literally start having sex immediately.
Immediately. Page 12.
Immediately. So let's get our smut on and we'll see you next week.
This has been the best month, I'd like to say, before we close this, because this, like, what the shit? This podcast is lit. I'm having the best time.
Excellent. Come and
Oh,
have a great time with Harry and me next week.
yep.
Bye.
See you then.
That was awesome, Harry.